Her legs, long, wrapped in torn stockings. Her skirt, shorter than it should be. Her lips, slightly parted, like she just whispered something to the dark. She was sitting on the windowsill, in my room, staring at me like I was the one who showed up late. I don't know who she is, but her scent stayed on the pillow, and her reflection in the mirror. She calls herself Luna, and she comes back every night. She told me I'm not dreaming. But if that's true, why can't I wake up? There are nights that stretch out like wet silk, heavy, suffocating, full of static in the air, like the world itself is holding its breath before something irreversible happens. That night in Seattle was exactly like that. Sky smeared with dark clouds, the air slick with mist, and my nerves frayed to the bone after 4 flights in 5 days. I was supposed to check into a hotel, sleep off the exhaustion, and prepare for yet another meeting, yet another handshake, yet another face I wouldn't remember. The hotel was old, far too old to be called charming, though the online listing used words like vintage and historic character. In person, it looked like a stage set left to rot. All deep red wallpaper, low yellow lights that cast long shadows, and the faint smell of incense trying to mask something more primal underneath. Something damp, musky, and long forgotten. The man at the front desk looked as though he hadn't blinked in a week. Hollow-cheeked, tattooed hands, a name tag that had been scratched into the metal with something sharp. He handed me a card key without a word, but just as I turned to leave, he said quietly, almost like a warning or maybe a challenge, "She only comes out for certain types." I frowned. "Who?" He looked up then, and his eyes were strange. "Room 313. The elevator groaned all the way up, and the hallway was choked with silence. My room, 313, was tucked at the very end, next to a broken ice machine humming like a dying animal. The card slid through the lock with a tired beep. The door opened without resistance, and everything changed. There was someone in the room, not moving, just sitting, cross-legged on the windowsill, backlit by the flickering neon from across the street, as though the light itself was casting her into this world. She wasn't surprised to see me. In fact, she didn't even flinch. Her eyes met mine like she'd been waiting. She wore a black crop top and a short skirt, her legs wrapped in torn stockings. She had the kind of presence that seemed to slow time, not because of what she did, but because of how completely she occupied the space around her. Her boots were loosely laced, her nails painted dark, and there was a band of ink, a thin, looping tattoo, running across her thigh, just visible in the low light. I couldn't move, not from fear, but from something else. That strange stillness that happens when instinct collides with fascination. She smiled slowly, tilting her head, and her voice, when it came, was smooth, lazy, with the confidence of someone who knew exactly how much power she had without ever needing to use it. "Took your time," she said. "Most don't make it past the 2nd floor." I tried to clear my throat. "This is my room." She didn't react, just stretched her legs out in front of her, letting the silence settle like dust. She traced a finger along the window pane without looking. "Do you believe in echoes?" she asked, her voice barely louder than the hum of the radiator. "Not the kind from sound. I mean, people. Some of us never really leave. We just get quieter." We talked. Or rather, she talked. I listened, caught in that surreal web of her words and the stillness of the room. even as something deeper inside me whispered that none of this was right. She said her name was Luna. She smiled when she said it, though her eyes stayed unreadable. And when she leaned forward, elbows on knees, hoodie slipping off one shoulder, I noticed the necklace she wore, a small silver charm that seemed older than the rest of her. She asked strange questions. Have you ever had a dream you couldn't wake up from? Do you ever feel like someone's lying beside you, even when you sleep alone? If I told you I wasn't real, would you still want to remember me? There was a warmth in the room, thick and unnatural, like the air had stopped moving. Her fingers brushed my arm, cool, fleeting, and my body reacted before my mind could catch up. Her gaze dropped briefly, then returned to mine, steady and slow. And then I blinked. She was gone. I checked the door. Still locked. Window latched from the inside. Nothing disturbed. I didn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that I hadn't seen what I saw. But every detail stayed. The way her voice sank into the walls, the silver charm against her collarbone, the look in her eyes that made me feel like she knew me better than I knew myself. The next morning, the man at the front desk didn't seem surprised. You saw her, huh? I nodded slowly. He leaned in. Don't follow her. That's how she gets in. In where? I asked. But he only looked at me with something like pity. That night, I tried to resist. Kept the lights on. Sat up fully dressed. But at 3:13 a.m., the lights flickered, and she was there, lying on the bed. One leg hanging over the side, her body half turned toward the ceiling, her expression calm, peaceful, like she'd been sleeping in that same position for hours. Her hair spread across the pillow, catching the light in threads of shadow and wine-red neon from the window. I didn't speak. Couldn't. Her eyes opened slowly, and she smiled. Thought you'd left me. She stretched lazily, then began to move across the bed, unhurried, fluid, like water slipping over silk. The way she looked at me wasn't flirtation. It was something far deeper, older, a question and a promise, folded into the same moment. You're not dreaming, she whispered. Not yet. Her voice touched something behind my ribs, a coldness blooming inside my chest. But you will be, she said. The days blurred after that. I barely remember leaving the room for food. I barely remember what was real. I found an old journal beneath the bed, cracked leather, pages stained, full of drawings and symbols, and page after page of one name, Luna. One entry read, She shows you what you want, then takes what you didn't know you had. Another, the door locks from the inside, but the real trap is the mirror. After that, I avoided every mirror in the room. I taped paper over the bathroom glass. I stopped looking at my own reflection, but no matter what I did, she always came. Every night, 3:13. I left the hotel without checking out. Left my clothes, my things, everything. But I wasn't free. She followed. Not in footsteps, not in shadows, but in the corners of my mind, in the flicker of glass, in the silence between breaths. Sometimes, I wake up and find the silver charm from her necklace on my pillow. Sometimes, the air smells faintly of incense and rain. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, I feel her beside me. And once, only once, I woke to find my bedroom mirror fogged from the inside. 3 words traced across the glass. Don't look back. They say some disappearances are never solved. But what if the truth is worse? What if some people don't go missing? They just become part of the room.